Billionaire from Alex, ladies and gentlemen, it's back to business. We've got your boy Monde Ndlovu. Today I've got a billionaire from a gap in the clouds. You'll find out why I'm saying that. I've got the one and only Mr. Patrick Kulati. Mr. Kulati, how are you, sir?
Monde, I'm all right, man. I'm so glad to finally have this chat with you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to engage with your viewers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kulati. Thank you so much, firstly, for your time and for inviting me once again to your home. It's very, very generous of you. I know you're a very busy man. A Gap in the Cloud movement is doing the most all over the country, maybe even all over the continent, all over the world. It's about to go to places that maybe even you yourself have never expected. But once again, someone is just maybe wondering, why am I saying billionaire from a gap in the clouds? So, Mr. Kulati, please just give us a brief introduction of yourself and what you do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I really want to start off by just affirming my support for the kind of work that you're doing and the kind of content that you are creating. I think you're doing a great job. So many people are going to benefit from just the various programs that you're doing. Now,
thank you, sir.
My name is Patrick Kulati. Those are my names. My focus in life is to help leaders, individuals, professionals, and just generally families to becoming the better people that they could be. That's basically what I'm here to do, is to add value to people so that they could be the best leaders, they could be the best husbands, they could be the best families, and the best people that they could be, best young people.
Right.
So that is in essence me. I was born in a place called Port Alfred in the Eastern Cape.
Okay.
And I grew up under apartheid, and I'm so happy to have learned lessons even from that bad experience.
Wow.
And I'm here to share some of those experiences with the world in whatever work that I'm doing. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Thank you so much for that introduction, Mr. Kulati.
Yeah.
You're talking about making sure that people live up to their fullest potential. People become great leadership. Rather great leaders instead. So someone is asking themselves, well, what makes you to be into this leadership thing? What makes you to be so interested in human potential and people becoming interested in living out their fullest potential in life? Where did it all start? Your love or maybe your desire to want to have a positive impact on people?
Look, I think my belief system, first and foremost, that we are all created in the image of God.
Okay.
That for me is a powerful idea.
Yes.
That means that everybody has the capacity, has the abilities, has everything that they need to be the best people that they could be.
Okay.
We have that within us, but for some reason, there are things that force that down. There are things that happen in our lives that make us not realize the kind of potential that we have. And so that upbringing, that belief system is something that made me realize that there is actually more in people. In fact, when I was still a young boy, I read a book. It was a book, I can't remember the name of the book, but the book was about a school where Prince Charles of England had gone to school.
Okay.
And then it had a motto. That motto, when translated into English, it was a French motto. Bleu and vous. That is now my motto. It means there is more in you than you think.
Wow.
That idea blew my mind.
Wow.
And it has actually channeled my thinking about myself and other people. And as I grew in life, and I went to university, and I went to work, and the stream of leadership in my work life began to attract my attention.
Okay.
And I could have worked in the corporate world. I could have, I was a consultant in a water company, providing services to government. But my main passion has been about leadership, helping people develop their potential and become the best that they could be.
Okay, so what's your take on leadership currently, just globally, and also leadership in South Africa? Because we are based in South Africa here. So what's your take on just leadership globally and even leadership in South Africa? Can you just start with maybe in the politics or with our government, and then obviously in the private sector? What are just your takes on the current styles of leadership, or what's going wrong, what's going right as well with the current leadership?
Man, I must just say that what has happened recently, especially around COVID and around the economy, around the public services, does not give great PR for our public leaders, for our politicians. The levels of corruption, the Zondo Commission and the state capture, it really, really creates a very difficult picture, a very bad picture of our leaders. Some of them are trying, but the atmosphere is just so polluted, it's so toxic, that it is very, very difficult to trust them. So because trust, integrity lies at the heart of what I believe about leadership. And unfortunately, the way that things have turned out, some of the people that have been trusted with public resources in our politics, some of the people that have been trusted with leadership and taking major decisions, have been found to have been involved in nefarious activities. So therefore, the leadership of our public and political leaders has been found wanting. Now, if you look at the global environment, you also find these things there. In fact, yesterday I was listening to the IMF and World Bank leaders. There's a session that is happening. In fact, I join every day. That is happening, where they're talking about the global issues. You can see there that these people have come to a state. They do not know what to do. There are wars in Ukraine. There have been wars in places like Iraq, Libya, everywhere. Ongoing kind of stuff. So, and then you see some of the people that are popping up into our leadership. You realize that, man, the world has all these kinds of issues that that need proper leadership to take. But unfortunately, definitely, the kind of global leaders that we have do not live up to expectations. And so the picture is bad. Now, let me come to corporations, the business world. That has been another terrain of leadership that has been battered by scandals. You go back to 2008, when there was this global financial meltdown.
Recession,
and if you track it back, you'll find that some of the biggest leaders, business leaders, were behind the scandal that led to that whole problem. And there has not been any redemption of that ever since then. And this is basically something that has shaped a lot of my thinking about leadership. And I talk about this, by the way, in the book. I think we're going to get to that.
Definitely. We have to. That's what we came here for, Dr. Kulati. We can't just live without
We can't live that out. But I do spend a lot of time talking about leadership in that book, because I feel that everything stands or falls on leadership. You talk about the home, it's about the leadership of both the parents. You're talking about the community. You talk about the corporation, the government. All of those institutions stand or fall on the quality of that leadership in those places.
Wow, very, very interesting views there. Just quickly in passing, Mr. Kulati, do you think there's a difference between a leader and a manager? Either whether in government or in a corporate environment or in the community. Do you think there's a difference between being a leader and being a manager? And if so, what is it?
Yes, there is a difference in my view. A leader develops a vision. A vision of the picture of where the company or the organization has to go. And then instills enthusiasm, optimism, and helps people to get to that. A manager is a person who manages processes, resources, and people. You know, they may or may not have a broad view leadership, or they may support a leadership vision that is there. But more than anything, managers are people that manage resources like finances, assets, and things like that. You know, you don't necessarily need a lot of vision for that. You can buy into someone else's vision, be supportive of that person, and run with it, and you can do that faithfully. And there are people like that. who say, I don't want to be the leader, to be providing strategic leadership, strategic thinking. I do not want to be the one who's driving the forces and the team builder and all of that kind of stuff. I just want to be given my portfolio and I run with it.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's very, very interesting. So here's a question for my viewers. Guys, are you a leader or you're a manager out there? That's your homework after watching this interview and after you subscribed, liked, and share. This is important to you. Why? Because what's next, ladies and gentlemen? What are we talking about?
Wow.
This right here. A gap in the clouds, turning tragedies into triumphs. Mr. Kulati, what is this book about?
Yeah.
Why a gap in the clouds and turning tragedies into triumphs?
Yeah.
Why did you have to write this book? What inspired you to write this book?
I don't know where to start, but I'll start somewhere.
Yes.
In 2020, we had COVID-19. During that period, a lot of people that I knew died.
Yes.
And were sick.
Yes.
And were stuck. The world was thrown into a chaotic world, emotionally and spiritually. We didn't know what was happening. And then I developed this fear. What if I die?
Sure.
Would people say that I was here, except for my family?
Hey.
What that fear of failure, fear of no living, no legacy is called atichiphobia. I had that. I had that phobia. And then, I said, what is it that I can offer to the world that would help people to deal with the kind of turmoil, with the kind of tragedies that we're going through?
Yes.
And for that, I had to look into my own story. Now, you asked about the title of the book.
Yes. A gap in the cloud.
A gap in the cloud.
Yes.
This book came, the title of this book came, I was traveling from here in 2017.
Okay.
From Johannesburg to a place called Pietermaritzburg.
Yes.
Catching a small flight, a small plane. When we left Johannesburg, the weather was beautiful. But as we are getting closer to Pietermaritzburg, the weather changed. The wind started to buffet the plane. The thunder rumbled. The lightning everywhere. So it was just a turbulence, a very difficult turbulence. And then the captain said to us, ladies and gentlemen, when we get to Pietermaritzburg, we're going to do a couple of cycles. If we cannot find a way to land, we're going to land in Durban. I was so tired. I'd been speaking at various companies, because one of the things that I do is speak at corporate companies.
Yes.
I'd been speaking, and so I was so tired. I wanted to sleep, and I was going for a meeting there. And so I slept. The plane continued. So the next time I heard him speak, he must have done his circling. Because when I heard him, he says, ladies and gentlemen, we have found a gap in the cloud.
Wow.
That image, that imagery, that picture stuck in my spirit. And I took out my pen and my notebook. I started scribbling this thing. That evening, when I got to my hotel, I couldn't sleep. This thing was in my mind. And I was just thinking, not just about the title, but why is it that it stuck so deeply into my spirit? And I realized that my life has been about gaps and clouds.
Okay.
Clouds are difficulties. Clouds are problems. Clouds are experiences of pain.
Trials and tribulations.
Trials and tribulations. All of those things are clouds. But out of all of that, there are moments of gaps. When you say, man, how did I break through this? But there's a gap that came out. So gaps are breakthroughs. Gaps are moments where you make it in life. So when I looked into my life, there were two stories that stood out.
Okay.
One was a personal life-threatening illness that I had.
Wow.
In 2011.
Okay.
A cancer which is quite advanced. And so whilst I was going through that cancer, a few months later, I went through a professional livelihood threatening crisis where I was called by the chairman of the company I was running, and he said to me, Mr. Kulati, we want you to close down your business.
Oh no.
We want to close it down. let go of everyone, let go of the assets and yourself as well.
Why?
I mean, the story is long. The company was owned by the oil industry, the petroleum industry.
Okay.
And so they had made a strategic decision that necessitated that some of the organizations be closed down. And so this was one such. This is the issue with business, is that the environment can change so quickly.
So quickly, man. Wow.
That you're no longer relevant anymore. And then you could be relevant, but the powers that be may not see that. So I was leading this organization. I had staff members that had been there, some of them 15 years, 10 years. These people were looking up to me as their CEO to say, what's going to happen to us? So on the one side, I'm going through 3 operations. And I'm going through this limping with cancer.
Sure.
And then whilst I'm going through that, which is a personal life-threatening illness, on the other side, I'm going through this thing. How do you manage that? So this book is about saying, how do you go through pain and emerge out of that pain minus blaming, anger, bitterness? How do you look into problems and pain and draw lessons out of it in such a way that another person can live, can get something out of that? So, for example, with my cancer, in fact, I was at the hospital after having done the testing. I was lying there at the hospital ward waiting for them to come and tell me. They had tested me to check what was the problem. And the doctor just came in and said, Mr. Kulati, you've got cancer.
Sure.
My wife is there, my children are there, very young, And so I needed to make a decision in terms of how do I deal with this thing. I went through a process of detoxing my body, making sure that I prepare my immune system to be able to fight against the illness.
Yeah.
Because you see, I needed to take ownership of this diagnosis. I couldn't just give up my power to the doctors and everyone else.
Definitely.
And in our church, in my church, there's a belief in health message. So I went through the health transformation.
Okay.
Look, we have something, I write about it in the book. The chapter is called A New Start to My Life.
A New Start to My Life. Wow.
Basically, that new start to my life is about, the new start stands for words. New means nutrition.
Okay.
Right? E stands for something else.
Oh.
W stands for water, S stands for sunshine, and all of those kinds of things. These are the things that you need to change in order to be able to withstand the disease. So when I went, after 4 months of doing that daily, at home we changed everything. Well, after going to the second opinion, the doctor said, Mr. Kulati, whatever you have been doing, your cancer cells have reduced so much.
Sure.
Your cancer cells have reduced, so you keep doing it. But we still advise you to do an operation. Such that after doing that, I went to do the chemo and radiation. I lost no hair. I walked by myself to the hospital. Every day I would come back home and play with my children. So what I'm trying to say here is that was the health aspect of looking after decision making about your life. Then on the company situation where we had lost, I'll just be brief about this. Because the point I'm trying to point to you is say, how do you look into the worst situation?
Sure.
How do you turn tragedy into triumph practically? Now, when it comes to the work side, we fought with my team, my management team. We fought the decision. We went and met and tried to meet with the ministers and everybody, but we failed. But when we finally decided what we're going to do, we decided that instead of paying our staff members what the minimum requirement by law says we must pay 1 week salary for every year that they worked, we pay them 1 month salary for every year that they had worked. We established a pool, a capacity building fund so that we can send people to school. Some people finished paying for their houses. Some people went and did courses.
Sure.
The ladies that were cleaning in our companies, we bought chicken for them. We bought fridge for them. We bought buckets for them so that they can do businesses.
Wow.
You see, so what I'm trying to say is that if you are a leader, you see, the world of leadership education, especially in the corporate sector, is about, if you have a problem in your company, the first people that you go, the first elimination that you make is people. My belief, my philosophy of leadership is that people are the number one assets.
Yes, you believe in human capital.
I believe in human capital.
Okay.
You start with people. You can cut other things, inefficiencies like telephone bills, traveling, and all of those kind of stuff.
Not people.
You must not start with the people. And unfortunately, they are the easiest to dispose of in today's world. And for me, leadership without people is no leadership.
Leadership without people is no leadership. Very, very interesting. Wow, this is a very inspirational story and book, as some of us have had the pleasure of actually just browsing through it.
Yes, sir.
And ladies and gentlemen, you have to get it. We'll promote it a little bit later on. But Mr. Kulati, you speak about all these tragedies that were happening, and they're happening all at once.
Yes.
Someone can be affected mentally and even maybe spiritually, to those to whom spirituality applies.
Yes.
Someone can be so affected to say, I mean, what good thing can really come out of this? I've got my own personal body to deal with. And now, on the career side or on my financial side, I'm being attacked as well. I've got this treatment, this diagnosis that has been given to me. And then even in the world, something that needs to help me fund the treatment could be taken away. What was your state of mind? I want to know, what was your self-talk during all those things? Because the battle is won in the mind.
One in the mind.
You know, as someone who's very much into business and who's a billionaire from Alex, I know that it's actually, it all starts with the mind. You know, they say you cannot go further than what your mind has been exposed to. So I want to know, what was your self-talk and what was your mindset when all these things were just happening at once?
Okay. There's a lot that I share in the book about this. People can get more, but I think there are two meta narratives that was or theories that were influencing my thinking.
Okay.
Which explained to me why I was going through. The one is called the Great Controversy. I want to delve into that from a spiritual point of view.
Okay.
It's about explaining why are we going through pain.
Yes. Why suffering?
Why suffering? What are the forces behind this from a spiritual point of view? Okay. That was a great help for me, because it explained why I was going through cancer. It explained why I was in the problem that I was finding myself in, and other people as well. Now, on the leadership side, there's a theory which is called a conservation of resources theory, which means for leaders.
Come on.
Now, this is what it means for leaders. You as a person, not just the leaders, you already have something going for you. Already. The fact that you're alive, the fact that you've got energy, the energy resources that you have, the fact that you've got your family, those are resources that come, that are on your side already. As you are now going there to that hospital bed, as you are now going through to that mental health facility, as you're going through all of these things, you already have things going for you. You may not see them. You may have friends. You may have a good personality. We call them character resources. You may have a cell phone, a car. You may have a bit of money in your bank account. Those are what is called object resources. Not all of us are going to have all of these things. But the point is, when you're going through problems, sometimes we're using what you call a deficit mindset. You forget about the stuff that you have already. You have a personality, man. You make people laugh even when you're sick at hospital. There are people who make up. That goes for you. You have the capacity to speak. You have the capacity to do things, to stand up. Those are things that are going for you. You need to start with the positive. So basically for me, that is what I was created with, all this capacity. Illness was just was affecting part of me. It was not defining who I was.
Come on.
I have family that love me, that are praying for my healing. I've got people around me that are rooting for my. So those are the things that I allowed to stick in my mind. At hospital, when I was at hospital, I would stand up and walk up and down. I would walk up and down, going to ward just to encourage it. There was a guy there who was sitting there.
Mr. Kulati, you were sick, faced with cancer. You're going up and down to go and maybe minister to some other people.
Just to talk to people. I was not even preaching. I was just going to how are you, sir? And let's just get to know with one another. Because you see what I'm saying? I had something to give. I had a smile that I could give.
Come on.
I had a word that I could give. I had a story that I could share.
Yeah,
Because
yes.
you see, when we are going through problems, we forget about the fact that the one who created us deposited a lot in there. But somehow experiences, life has dumped down those things. So what I'm trying to say, and I'm saying to people that I coach and people that I encourage, is that you need to look at what you already have.
Come on.
You need to start there. Because you're not nothing.
Surplus mindset. No.
Exactly.
Yes.
Not deficit mindset.
Yes.
Because this is where the problem comes in. It is the thing that demoralizes us so much. And I'm not saying that at all times when I was in hospital or going through this, I was always
positive.
No. There were moments I remember I went to a house not far from our home because I did not want to be at home because when children come to school I did not want to see anyone. I was in a dark place. And as I was there sitting there, I phoned my friend and I said, man, can you and your family come later this evening at home and come and do a prayer? He said to me, and then he was at work, he said to me, I'm going to pray with you right now. And soon after that, my wife came and she brought me food. And these are and she prayed over me. These are resources that we have that we sometimes take for granted when we're going through stuff. So what I'm saying in the book is that then you need, before you enter into a desert experience, build relationships.
Come on, man.
Build your own physical health. Create a network. These are the people. I'm telling you, people from my work would come to my workplace, bring me flowers, bring me cards. When I read those things, when I was writing this book, I took a lot of my diaries from 2011 already, and I would have written down what so and so said to me.
Yes.
From work, someone had done this. I would wake up in the morning, read something, and I would write about that. Journaling is very important when you're going through stuff. Because that information, that experience is what is contained in the book now.
Oh.
Stuff that I never knew that I was going to write the book about. But I went back and I look at my 2012 diary and journal. Man, you cannot believe what I wrote at the time. So what I'm trying to say is that the book is really about, it's for people that are in leadership, but it's also for anyone. Hey, I talk, for example, about decision making. How do you make a decision about marriage? How do you make a decision? I tell a story of how I met my wife, for an example. I tell a beautiful story of how all that process went through and what went through my mind to making that decision about her. And she reviewed the chapter, and I'm sure from her side, she also has her own thoughts about how do you make a decision. So it's not just about pain. It's about also triumphs. When my wife was pregnant, our son, the first son, I was working for one of the cities in Cape Town, or the major cities there. I felt that these people tolerated me. I didn't feel any racial, but I felt that they tolerated me not more than they celebrated me.
Wow!
Never stay in a place like that.
Come on.
I resigned. I went and worked for a lower salary at an NGO that was giving me better decision making, better leadership. When I started working in that organization, it was for the first time where a staff member who was reporting to me wrote for me a note, and she said, "You are the best boss ever."
Come on.
That I would have never received that affirmation where I was tolerated but never celebrated. Here, so there are times when you have to go down in order to go up.
Come on, Elder Kulati, no, this is too much. I think we need a part two. We definitely need a part two. I think maybe hopefully round about next year, Mr. Kulati,
it's okay,
in a proper studio when Billionaire from Alex is more resourceful, has got other leaders that he can use to your advantage. We definitely need a part two, Elder Kulati, especially when the year is starting, so that people can know exactly what to do, how to be resourceful, how to be productive
Yeah.
throughout the year, because this is some very powerful stuff that you are sharing right now. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough time to unpack it all,
That's
because I
always
want
the
us to go
problem.
deep.
Yeah.
But Mr. Kulati, we just came from a 2-year pandemic.
Yes.
In a way, so people are just traumatic right now. People are going through the most
Yeah.
high cases of mental health issues. People have lost jobs. People have seen their life crumble in a matter of days, weeks, and months.
Yeah.
I want you to just give 3 pointers to someone who's listening to this, someone who's watching this. They are in hospital, they're at home, and they just don't know what to do. They don't know what's the next step forward. They've seen a picture of this book of yours saying, turning tragedies into triumphs.
Yeah.
Someone is going through a tragedy right now.
Yeah.
They want to triumph, but they don't know where to start. They don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do.
What 3 pointers could you say to that person right now?
The first thing is for that person to do what the captain of the aeroplane did. He believed that gaps were there. All he needed to do was to find.
Okay.
Look for gaps in your clouds. They are there. Look for gaps in your cloud. They are there. A gap could be a word that someone shares, a quote that you read. It could be a song that you're listening to. It could be a YouTube channel that a gap can be anything that gives you hope.
Come on.
So develop your capacity to hope. Because the central message of this book is that there is always a gap in the cloud.
Come on.
The fact that you cannot see it, it does not mean that it is not there.
Yes.
It is there, but unfortunately the pain is blinding you that you cannot see it now. Another important thing that we often undermine, to be out in nature.
Sure.
To be out, you just take a walk to nature. It has, I'm reading a book, by the way, now that talks about that. It has a way of just creating a different atmosphere to look at nature. Unfortunately, in the urban areas, in major cities, we don't take nature serious. As we are sitting here, you can hear the birds.
Birds singing.
We have not attuned our minds to appreciate nature.
We're here for money.
We're here for money.
Quick
we're
life.
here for the cars, for the. But if you take time, some of my post on Facebook page, I was here in this office one time, and I saw an ant. Someone stepped on the ant. And I looked at that, and I looked at the other ants which was trying to care for that one and dragging it on one side. So for me, is that nature is a second point that we need to take into consideration. Go out, take walks, because that creates a natural endorphins that get to your brain and make you happy. These are happy hormones. It's very important. People, you need to support systems. Build a relationship with people. Speak to people. When you're ill, sometimes you cannot say, or when you are in trouble, you cannot say to everyone. But you need to speak to certain people that you trust.
Yeah.
People that are going to feed back to you positive vibes. You don't want people that are going to pull you down. You don't want people that are going to tear you apart, whilst you're going through stuff. So I would mention those 3 issues as 3 issues. They sound simple, but in my experience, they are foundational.
Wow. So powerful. So ladies and gentlemen, the first thing you got to start doing as from today. Look for a gap. Look for those positive things. Look for something good. Look for an advantage. That great thing that is happening in your life. Something good definitely is there. Number 2, we need to be around nature. We need to have the trees. We need to be around those birds that are singing, a calming presence.
Yes.
If you are far from nature, please look for a calming presence where you can just get your body relaxed. You can be centered or grounded in today's language, Elder Kulati.
Yes.
Be centered, be grounded. Number 3, relationships. As a billionaire from Alex, I know wealth is built on relationships, not on money. Wealth is built on relationships. Sales, relationship. Building a business, relationship. So, Mr. Kulati, in closing, here's your book, sir. You spoke to me earlier about proceeds of that book. Some of them going to the SOS Children's Home.
Yes.
What is that home? What happens when someone buys that book, sir?
Okay. This book, the price of this book is $315.
Yes.
And then if you want me to post it to your
dollars or rands there, we've got international viewers there.
Rands. And then if you want, I think it's about $11 on
Amazon.
Amazon, yes. And then if you want it to be sent to you here in South Africa, you just put an extra 100 rand. We send it to your closest postnet.
Yes.
And then part of the proceeds go to children, SOS children villages in South Africa. I happen to be the CEO or the national director for SOS Children Villages South Africa. And so it's an organization that is present in in 10 provinces of South Africa, that looks after children who have lost care, who have lost parents, who have no medication, who have no food, who have no clothes. We're looking after them from when they're young until they go to university. In fact, I was in Pankop, in another village just here in Mpumalanga recently. A young man stood up and said to me, "Mr. Kulati, you do not know me, but I know your signature." Because when I was so he went through SOS Children Villages, and he went through, he's now doing his masters.
Come on.
He's doing his masters at Mbombela University or Mpumalanga University.
Yes.
And he says, "You signed something for me so that when I was being chucked out of the university because of fees and everything." So what I'm trying to say is that SOS is helping young people and children, not just children when they're young, but even when they're older at university, in order to make something out of their lives. That is why I thought, let me choose them in order to donate some proceeds from this book. Because for me, it's really about what we can do for South African people.
Come on.
This country has a lot of opportunities and potential, but it has been destroyed by our leaders. Hope is gone. My job is to say to a young person out there, there's still hope as long as you're still breathing. And as long as there are people like me and the billionaire from here, the billionaire, my friend here, as long as we have people like this, there is hope.
Wow.
It's a gap in the cloud.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need not to say anymore. That's Mr. Patrick Kulati coming through with a gap in the cloud. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to get this book. If you don't have this book, please, if you are going through tragedy, if you want to be better than what you are right now, if you are a leader, it would be foolish for you to not buy 2 of them. One for you, one for your team.
That's it.
And most probably 5. In fact, if you are able and you're in a big corporate, you need to buy this book for every single person in the team. If you are serious about making your life, about ensuring that you become more than who you are supposed to be, ladies and gentlemen, please look no further. Mr. Lonwabo Patrick Kulati, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for A Gap in the Clouds.
Thank you.
Thank you that you've decided to share your story and be vulnerable and open with us. We thank you for everything you've done. And yes, we're looking forward to a part 2. Hopefully,
yes,
I don't know, maybe we'll have now from A Gap in the Clouds to succeeding all over the world. Or I don't know what's the next
I've got another one coming, but I will tell you closer to the time. It's linked to that motto I was telling you about. There's more in you than you think. So there's another book coming.
Not a problem, Mr. Kulati. When it's ready, All Things Live TV is your home. You are more than welcome to let us know, promote it. Let's get the good work out there. Let's spread the positive message. Yeah. Let's empower the people like we're born to do.
Thank you so much. All the best, man.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you.